What's good? It's Russell Kinder. Today I'm going to be discussing the recent episode of Friday Night Smackdown. Finna jump straight into it. Starts off with Nick Aldis. He ends up introducing your Queen of the Ring winner, Nia Jax. She comes down, takes the microphone. She basically, starts, being her arrogant self. Mention how she's the Queen of the Ring. Mentions her championship opportunity at SummerSlam, and she wants Bayley to come out and address her. Bayley comes out. Then out of nowhere, Piper Niven ends up attacking Bayley from behind. And then Chelsea Green gets on the microphone, and Chelsea Green and Piper Niven are staring down on Nia Jax. Chelsea basically ends up saying that you shouldn't be worried about Bayley because by that time, Piper Niven will be your new women's champion. Then Nia Jax ends up saying that she don't care who is the champion. Either way, she's going to annihilate them and then walk off. And then she walks off. And that's the end of the segment there. Not too much to really take away there. I don't really have any deeper thoughts to really go into this, to be honest with you, because we probably already know how this is going to play out. But yeah, I don't really have any deeper thoughts on this. Next, we get a segment with AJ Styles. He's in a suit and he's talking to Nick Aldis, and he ends up telling Nick Aldis that he wants to make an announcement. Now, throughout the show, this was the beginning of the plot they was playing, because throughout the show, they kept on basically teasing that he was going to retire. The whole show, basically, the question is AJ going to retire? So this is the beginning of the story of tonight's show. Will AJ retire on tonight's show? Next, we get a quick little segment for Bayley and Naomi. Basically, this just sets up the match that's going to happen later on. Bayley was in the emergency room. Naomi ends up checking up on her. Basically said that Chelsea Green and Piper aren't going to get away with what they did, and they're going to talk to Nick Aldis to see if they can set up a match, which will eventually happen later on in the show. Next, we get Tommaso Ciampa versus Austin Theory. This is basically, this is playing up the story of DIY trying to get closer to those tag team titles. But towards the end of the match, though, Austin Theory was on the outside. Grayson Waller pulls Austin Theory and pushes him back in the ring. Michael Cole said something I can't really remember, but Grayson Waller got angry. Grayson Waller was basically talking about, he said something that he alluded to him and Austin Theory, and he ends up saying that he said Austin Theory got back relevant due to the Grayson Waller rub. And Austin Theory was listening on the outside. And then after he said that, Austin Theory ended up saying, "What did you just say?" He kept on asking, "What did you just say?" Grayson Waller is trying to play it off like he didn't say that. Then Tommaso Ciampa ends up taking advantage of it, ends up getting a roll-up pin, and picks up the victory. So they're already teasing the potential breakup of A-Town Down Under. I think it's a little too soon, if I'm being honest. This is just a tease. I don't think they're gonna break up like next month or anything, but they're already showing, the signs of a potential babyface run of Austin Theory, which I think he kind of needs. And they're already planting the seeds of, the potential breakup of A-Town Down Under. Now, like I said, I still think it's a little early to pull the trigger on it, but they are planting the seeds, so we'll see how that goes. Next, we get Blair Davenport. Finally, she's on the show. Took her a while to finally get appearance on SmackDown. Even though it's only a small appearance, I'm just glad she's on the show because she is very underrated. I can't wait to see what she does on SmackDown. Talking to Nick Aldis, then Naomi comes out. Interrupts Blair Davenport. Didn't like that, and Blair Davenport basically ended up saying that pretty soon she would know pretty soon Naomi's gonna know who she is, and then walks off. Naomi basically gets the match with Piper Niven and Chelsea with Bayley. Then she walks off. Then LA Knight comes into the room. LA Knight ends up talking about, is the rumors true about AJ retiring? Nick Aldis says he doesn't know. But then LA Knight starts alluding to a person that he's been looking for. And the person he wants is Logan Paul. But unfortunately, Logan Paul is not there. And he's not in the arena. Then LA Knight ends up leaving the room. Ends up leaving Nick Aldis' office and ends up getting interviewed by Caleb Braxton. Caleb Braxton wanted to know what was the details of Nick Aldis, but LA Knight basically ended up saying there was nothing to tell and nothing happened. Then he leaves, and then he left for like 5 seconds and then came back and ended up playing like a trick. Ends up saying that I forgot exactly what he said, but he did it very smoothly. Like, he was very clever with how he did it. But basically, he ends up saying that he wants to come after Logan Paul. He wants the United States Championship. and that he's gonna, try to get a match with Logan Paul very soon. Then Carmelo Hayes ends up interrupting him. He ends up interrupting him. You know what he ends up doing, being the arrogant, young, up and coming, spoiled kid, disrespecting all the old heads. I'm pretty sure this program is probably going to last until Clash at the Castle. That's what I'm assuming. Um, I'm assuming it's going to last the Clash at the Castle because, or they could just finish it before, but I think they're probably going to have this match for Clash at the Castle to have LA Knight do something because LA Knight and Logan Paul, I don't think they're going to have much interaction until the next paper, until like Money in the Bank, because that's when SummerSlam is kind of close because they're probably going to do the match at SummerSlam in Logan Paul's hometown. I love what they're doing here. I love that they're finally pulling the trigger on LA Knight because everyone's been wanting LA Knight to win a championship. This is the time. This is the right time to do it. I think they're gonna pull it. They should. They're probably gonna do the trigger, pull the trigger at SummerSlam. That's the most logical spot to do it, especially because that's in Logan Paul's hometown. Make him lose in his hometown. I think that's the most logical spot to do it. So I love what they're doing here. Next, we end up getting a match between Andrade versus Apollo Crews. Not gonna speak too much on it, but they're Angel Garza ends up interfering in the match, helping Andrade pick up the victory here. They're playing the story of Angel Garza is trying to recruit Andrade because earlier before SmackDown went on, they showed like a little segment that happened earlier that Angel Garza is trying to recruit Andrade, but Andrade ended up declining. Then Angel Garza ends up helping Andrade wins this match. Then after the match though, Andrade walks out the ring and Legado del Fantasma is at the top of the entrance round. He walks towards him and then walks straight past him. And then Santos Escobar looked frustrated. He looks at Angel Garza. He was very frustrated. And Angel Garza is chasing after Andrade to try to fix it. This storyline, I don't understand it because why are they trying? I understand trying to recruit people. I get that. But what was the point of Angel Garza helping Andrade? It didn't make logical sense because why are you helping a member that's not a part of your team, a part of your group yet? That doesn't make sense. You're helping someone that's not a part of your faction. Like, that doesn't make sense. He already declined you earlier before the show started, but you still helped him. Like, I didn't understand that. To me, that just didn't make sense. Like, I just don't understand. Like, the way ain't like if you was gonna try to recruit him, you need to treat him like Judgment Day. Well, mainly Damian Priest is treating Carlito. Like you're helping someone that's not a part of your faction. To me, that just didn't make much sense. But we'll see how this goes though. Next, we get the Bloodline segment. Solo and Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman, is still fearing for his life. Talks about how he wants to be a good wise man for Solo. Talks about how Solo is recruiting Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa. He ends up calling them thugs. Ends up mentioning how it seems like to him that when he talked about how Roman's leadership, how when Roman did something, he talked to the wise man. He thought it through. While he says Solo, it seems like that you're just attacking with no game plan. Then Paul Heyman ends up saying that we need to be prepared for when Roman comes back because we need to have Cody Rhodes in check Roman. Solo ends up interrupting, ends up saying that we have Cody Rhodes in check and he doesn't even know it. Then Paul Heyman ends up asking who is we. Then Kevin Owens' theme music hits and then Solo tells Paul Heyman to handle it. So I love what they're doing here because Solo Sikoa did say we, and we don't know who we is. Now, he could have been referring to Tama Tonga and Tamaloa, but we all know what he means by we. Like, we can all speculate who he means by we. Most likely, he means the final boss. He means The Rock. That's who he mainly means by we. But it cuts off before but Kevin Owens' theme music ends up hitting before he can actually answer that question. Next, we get, I'm not going to speak to, actually, I'm going to skip past it, but we got Apollo Crews ends up attacking Angel Garza. I'm not going to speak too much on it. Most likely, they're going to have a match next week and probably feud with Apollo Crews for a while. Next, we get Kevin Owens. He cuts a promo. Paul Heyman ends up interrupting. He ends up coming out. And Paul Heyman is basically begging and pleading his case, trying to convince Kevin Owens to not fight the Bloodline. He's trying to tell Kevin Owens that, do not fight the Bloodline. It's not good for your life. It's not good for your family. trying to convince him in any shape or way to not fight the bloodline. Kevin Owens is not buying it. He's not believing what Paul Heyman is saying. Paul Heyman is still trying to convince him. This was a really good segment though. Like, I'm even though I'm simplifying it, this was a really good segment. Both of them was cutting deep, passionate, very deep and passionate promos. Like, they was really doing this promo segment was really good. Get towards the end though, where Paul Heyman basically was screaming and shouting, because Kevin Owens was basically talking about that, how Paul Heyman tries to manipulate, how Paul Heyman is the one running things and all that. Paul Heyman was basically streaming and shouting, basically saying that how come that I can't change. When it comes to me, I can't change, but you could change. Jey Uso can, redeem himself. Talking about people redeeming himself. And he was saying that how come the wise man can't redeem himself, but you can. He accidentally hits Kevin Owens. Paul Heyman instantly regrets it. Kevin Owens tries to attack, but then Solo Sikoa's theme music hit. He comes out with Tamatonga and Tamaloa. Then, they're outside the ring. They're about to jump him, but then the Street Profits comes out. Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins, they come out to help Kevin Owens. Then it turns into a brawl, which leads into a match. Street Profits versus the Bloodline between Tamatonga and Tangaloa. This was a solid match, very solid match. The Bloodline did pick up the victory here. Ends up picking up the victory here. I'm not going to speak too much on it because I don't think there's too much to explain here. But because I don't know if there's going to be more of a rivalry between the Street Profits and the Bloodline. This is probably just a pastime because Randy Orton wasn't on tonight's show. So I just think they just had the Street Profits replace Randy Orton in the absence, to continue that storyline. Now, we get a little quick segment between Nia Jax and Michin. Michin was getting interviewed about AJ Styles, but Nia Jax ends up interrupting. Michin didn't like that. Nia Jax tries to brush her off to tell her to just go away, but Michin didn't and got on her face. And Nia Jax ends up saying she's going to regret it. So most likely, probably next week, we're going to get a match and Nia Jax is going to win. This is going to build up Nia Jax to be a credible threat, probably towards SummerSlam. So they're probably just going to feed her bodies in order to make her credible for when she has that match against Bayley at SummerSlam or whoever's champion by then. Next, we get Bayley versus Naomi versus Piper Niven and Chelsea Green. This was a decent match as well. I was shocked by the ending though, but because towards the end though, I think Chelsea Green went for a pin by some sort. And I think Piper Niven ends up basically doing her finisher on Chelsea Green and Bayley at the same time. And then just pulled Chelsea Green's body and just, pull Chelsea Green's body on Bayley and picked up the victory there. I was very shocked, and I'm typically not a fan of the champion losing a match that is not for their title. I'm typically not a fan of it. And I don't know how to feel about this because I get what they're doing. I get what they're doing here. Because I think what they're doing here is they're going to do Bayley versus Piper Niven at Clash at the Castle. It makes sense. She's going to be, because Piper Niven is, I'm assuming, is from there, or at least close towards there, where she would be somewhat of a fan favorite there. So it makes sense. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if Bayley should have lost this match, to be fair. And she's the one that got pinned too, which is kind of crazy too. Yeah, I don't like this. Yeah, I don't like that she got pinned because it's like, if you was going to have her get pinned, you could have had Piper Niven pinned her. That would have made more sense in my opinion, because that would have made Piper look more dominant. Now, Piper is the reason why they won, but still, I feel like you could have just had Piper do the pinning there. I don't know. I'm not really the biggest fan of champions losing matches that is not a championship match, in my opinion, especially depending on the situation, because I don't see Piper Niven winning this match. I mean, even if I don't see her winning if they face at Clash at the Castle either. So I don't know, but they're pushing Piper Niven, which I'm not mad at because I actually like Piper Niven. I think she has some potential. I think she could play a similar role as Nia Jax if done correctly. So I'm not mad at it, but I don't know. I feel like that they could have just had the babyfaces win. But to be fair, it is a nice to change the pace because typically matches like this, the babyfaces typically win though. Next, we get AJ Styles. He's kind of promo. Basically, he's talking about retirement. Talk about, I ain't gonna lie, I was a little tired during this segment because I had stuff to do, so I was a little tired during this segment. Basically, he's talking about, basically teasing her retirement. Constantly mentioning her retirement, mentioning, everything he's been through and all that. Then he calls out Cody Rhodes. Then him and Cody Rhodes have a moment. Cody Rhodes, mentions, giving his flowers to, to AJ Styles. AJ Styles ends up saying that this is the house that AJ Styles built, but he's passing the torch to Cody Rhodes. Then um after that they after that they ended up, Cody Rhodes ends up, raising AJ Styles' hand. He did this like 4 times. He kept raising his hand up and down to like each section of the crowd. Then he does it one more time. Then AJ Styles ends up attacking Cody Rhodes. He attacks Cody Rhodes, ends up clotheslining him, constantly punching him. Then he takes him to the outside, puts him on the steel steps, and ends up doing. He's on the steel steps. He puts Cody in a Styles clash and ends up jumping off the steel steps onto the padded ground, hits the Styles clash on the outside, and that's the end of your SmackDown. I love what they did here. He basically ended up pulling a Mark Henry. He pulled a Mark Henry. I think it was executed well. We all knew he was not retiring. Come on. If AJ Styles is retiring, he's not going to just randomly announce it on a SmackDown. Like, it's going to be planned ahead. But I think this was good. I think this was executed well. I like what they did here. I was curious to what AJ Styles' next move is. I knew they was going to have a rematch. I just didn't know when. So it looks like most likely they're going to face each other at Clash at the Castle, which is, I think, is perfect. To finish the rivalry. I like what they did here. I think it was executed well. This SmackDown overall, it was solid. Nothing too special, but it was a solid episode, decent episode. I feel like I am forgetting. Oh, yeah. There was a segment with Indy Hartwell and Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair. Not going to speak too much on it. Next week, Jade is going to face Indy Hartwell. We already know who's winning that match. But yeah, this was a decent episode of Friday Night SmackDown. Let me know what you guys thought. And let me know what you guys thought. Leave your opinions down below. But yeah, don't have much to say here. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. But yeah, that's it.